get it up through your email. You're having a problem with the website.
Oh, I don't know how to do that. I don't know if I have my email on there.
No, this agenda is still not loading.
No.
Just have to do it on the paper form.
My sinuses are so bad, I cannot breathe with this thing on.
You have your email on that machine?
Look at this, 27%.
How are you today? Oh yeah, it's all done. That was great. I heard that too, but
Good afternoon. I'm Eula Clark, Mayor of the City of Stuart, calling to order the regular meeting of the Stuart City Commission, February 8th, 2021, 4 p.m. at the Commission Chambers at 121 Southwest Flagler Avenue in Stuart, Florida. For those in attendance today, would you please stand and let us quietly honor our friends and neighbors and all of our healthcare and first responders and those who are in leadership in our community, our state, and our nation. Our Vice Mayor will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to our meeting today. Madam Clerk, are you ready for the roll call?
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Clark,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes, present.
Commissioner Bruner. Here. Commissioner McDonald,
Here.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Yes. This month is February, it's Black History Month, and we're so happy that our arts moment today is going to be focused somewhat on Black history. And I think we have Mrs. Thelma Washington, who will be giving a presentation. And if Ms. Washington could take a few minutes to tell us a little bit about herself and her organization. We wanted to have the young students here from Gertrude Walden today, but they couldn't be here due to COVID restrictions. And so Ms. Washington is here, and we're asking you to present to us for the arts moment.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to represent the VPK class at Gertrude Walden Child Care Center today. I have been the executive director at Gertrude Walden Child Care Center for the past 26 years, and prior to that, 15 years at J.D. Parker teaching 5th grade. So my information is only as good as my source. Blacks have been in Martin County since the 1800s when some were brought as slaves by whites who immigrated from the lower southern states to cultivate the rich soil of South Florida. So today, I will be giving you the ABCs of Black history in Martin County. A is for Anderson Middle School. Dr. David Anderson was the longest-serving school board member and the first Black elected to Martin County School Board. B is for Bill Bryant, the first Black orthodontist. He was also on the board of directors at FAU, the first Black president of the Chamber of Commerce of Martin County. B is also for Johnny Bell, a business owner for over 50 years in East Stuart. C is for Marion Carpenter, principal at Port Salerno Elementary School, and she was the first teacher to integrate the elementary schools in Martin County. D is for Guy Davis Park, which is named for Guy Davis, manager of the Stuart Dodgers. E is for Eugene Brown Jr., who was the first Black admitted to the Air Force Academy. E is also for Commissioner Eula Clark, who has always been a fighter for East Stuart. F is for Felix Williams, Teacher of the Year in 1957 for the state of Florida, and he's the second Black in Martin County to have a school named in his honor. G is for Willie Gary, the first Black attorney. G is also for Greg Buckle, the first Black architect. H is for Robert Hall, the first Black mayor. H is also for Joyce Hobson, the first Black female elected to the Martin County School Board. I is for Isaac McCarty, who was a business owner in East Stuart. J is for Julius Graham, the first Black general contractor. J is also for John Scott, who was the longest-serving employee at Mark Memorial Hospital. K is for Carrie Anderson, the youngest deputy supervisor of elections. K is also for King, which 7th Street was renamed Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. L is for Lorraine Grant, the first Black food service manager. L is also for Deborah Langston, the first Black employed at the clerk of the circuit court. M is for Gilbert Miller, the first Black deputy of Martin County Sheriff's Department. M is also for Audrea Moore, the lead author of Treasure Coast Black Heritage. N is for New Monrovia, in 1912 area in Port Salerno that started as a fishing settlement. O is for Oradale Landers, who was the first Black woman to run for a seat at the City Commission. It's also for the one-room schoolhouse in Port Salerno, which educated many children in 1929 with teachers Costello Williams, who was paid $75 a month. Wow. P is for pediatrician. Dr. Bo Laguerre was the first Black pediatrician in Martin County. P is also for Willie Petway, a Petway Park in the historic Gomez settled to the area in 1909. He owned property on both sides of the Florida East Coast Railway. Q is for Quilly McHardy, an educator for over 40 years, and he managed the first Black golf league. R is for Rosita Dickerson, the first Black female employed at City Hall and Martin County Sheriff's Department, first as a clerk, then as a sheriff deputy, where she retired after 32 years. R is also for Tick Ridge, one of the county's oldest Black communities, first settled in 1898. The Goodbreads, the Christies, the Mackies, Taylors, Hall, and Wiley were prominent families in that community. S is for Willie Smith, the first Black head of the Martin County School District Transportation Department. And it was also for Willie Sampson, who was the oldest living veteran in Martin County, who passed away recently. T is for Thelma Waters from the Infant Child Care Center, which was built in the 1920s. Thelma Waters is still helping the residents of Indiantown today and was recently inducted into the Florida Women's Hall of Fame. U is for Union Baptist Church, built in 1923 in Jensen Beach and was destroyed on 9/11/1949 and rebuilt in 1961. V is for Victor McHardy, the longest-serving volunteer at the American Red Cross. W is for Walter Oden, the first Black principal at Murray High School. W is also for Leroy Washington, the first Black to advance to captain of the police department. X is for Zenobia Anderson, who was the principal at Port Salerno Elementary, Crystal Lake Elementary, and director of curriculum for Martin County School District. Y is because we are always yearning to do better, as they all did. And Z is to be zealous about accomplishing our goals. Thank you, and that's my ABCs of Black History in Martin County.
probably have repeated it without the paper, but that's okay. You know how well you school them. We have a nice little presentation for you if you come up, and I don't know if Jim is here or
Ben is handling it.
You can come up here, we can take a picture. Ben's here. We're smiling.
I can see.
Thank you so much. Please give our best regards to the students. Thank you. Our next item are our presentations for the employees.
We had a proclamation.
Oh, we had the proclamation for Black History Month. Okay, so Mr. Mortel, could you please read the proclamation for Black History Month?
Proclamation Black History Month, February 2021. Whereas in 1926, historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson established what would become Black History Month to bring special acknowledgement and awareness of African American accomplishments, contributions, and history in the shaping of America. And whereas the African American community has endured decades of struggle to be recognized as equal among our fellow citizens and has persevered through hate and bigotry to stand up for their rights and the basic rights we are all entitled to: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas the 2021 theme selected for Black History Month is the Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. Its representation, identity, and diversity have been reverenced, stereotyped, and vilified from the days of our slavery to our own time. The Black family knows no single location, since family reunions and genetic ancestry searches testify to the spread of family members across states, nations, and continents. And whereas the observance of Black History Month calls us into celebration and acknowledgement of the undeniable contributions of Black Americans, and it also calls our attention to the ever-present systematic racism and oppression embodied in our institutions and everyday life, and continued need to work to build an equitable and just society. And whereas the City of Stuart is proud to honor the history, contributions, and achievements of African Americans in our community throughout our state and our nation. Now therefore, in recognition of African Americans past and present in the City of Stuart, I, Eula R. Clark, Mayor of the City of Stuart, do hereby proclaim February 2021 as Black History Month and encourage all residents to celebrate the diverse heritage and culture and continue the efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all.
Thank you so much. Next year when they need a speaker, Mr. Mortel, I think that we have all the content. I think we have Miss Nina Dooley from the African American Citizens of East Stuart to receive. Ms. Dooley, would you like to say a few words before you receive? Yes. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Black History Month, which is celebrated.
Come right up to the mic.
Sorry,
Or it's lifted up to you.
I don't think it's closer.
Yeah,
I just pull it closer.
we can hear you.
You hear me now? Okay. Black History Month, which is celebrated each year during February, is a chance for Americans to learn details of our nation's history that unfortunately are far often neglected and pushed to the wayside. As the saying goes, Black history is American history, and it is a varied and rich history. A wise nation honors and learns from its past. It refuses to let the most important facts about our shared and collective memory disappear into the depths of forgotten history. What happened in the past shapes and informs where we are heading in the future, and it's paramount importance to set aside a month for learning as much as we can about Black history. So I want to thank the commissioners today for recognizing Black History Month, and we have a program set up this month in February 20th at the Guy Davidson Park for Black Heritage. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I wanted to say, Mayor, you look so beautiful tonight. I like your outfit very much.
That's the mayor, or is that for Ms. Dooley? I thought about wearing my long
I think she meant both.
Ms. Dooley. much. Thank you. Thank you. Now we get to work. We have employees who've been working hard all month, all year, all week. And 2021, it's a good time to recognize the employee service recognitions for February 2021. Hold on. I don't have my names, but I know that we have 5 years, Utilities Department, Water Treatment, Mr. Martin Meehan, 5 years, or is somebody gonna be here to take it for him? Nobody? You gonna take it, Tim? Yes, I can take it. Okay.
Congratulations, Tim.
Congratulations, Tim. Thank you. Let me go to the next one. We have, somebody's gonna have to take Ben's spot. We have another 5 years, our Community Affairs Liaison, Mr. Ben Hogarth, Mr. Benjamin Hogarth. Oh, you're gonna do something, you're gonna do a tall selfie? Okay, Anna, got it?
Yes, I did, thank you.
Got it? You did it?
Mug shot.
Who's next? George Stocks. 15 years in our media department. Thank you so much. 15 years. George, I can't believe that I can't shake your hands, but we just absolutely appreciate it so much. All your time and service. Thank you. For 15 years, you get a chance to give a 15-minute speech.
Anybody wants to grab a paintbrush and meet me at a fire hydrant?
Thank you. City Manager, or is it Ms. Johnson? We have the
Employee of the month?
Employee of the Month.
She's coming.
Oh, Employee of the Month. Oh, it's so bad.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, Roz Johnson, Human Resources Director. The city's Human Resources Department has a small staff, and everyone's workload is sizable. Nevertheless, the volume of work is never so great that a helping hand isn't extended when duty calls. Such is a recent case with our Human Resources Analyst, Jan Faselli. Jan's responsibilities include day-to-day benefits administration, fielding calls, questions, and visits from employees on a variety of topics, payroll processing, serving as my backup when I need her, and so much more than I could describe in this sitting. Even though Jan's plate is already full, she never hesitates to help in any way needed, no matter what the city asks of her. One such example began in December when Jan assumed the duties of our human resources specialist when she was out of work for an extended period of time, unexpectedly. What was anticipated to be a 3 or 4 week absence became an 8-week absence, and Jan continued doing both jobs, many times while eating lunch at her desk and foregoing breaks, and responding to the dozens of phone calls on each of the 2 phones every day. That is, when she wasn't jumping up from her desk to answer HR's doorbell to let people in. Timelines, tasks, and deadlines between these 2 very critical jobs hovered over her head, but she never once complained. When I offered to assist, she would smile and tell me, "Thanks, but I've got this. You're busy too." Throughout, Jan always found something to laugh about, and she made me laugh with her, taking the stress down a few notches. But Jan didn't stop at working just those 2 jobs for 2 months. There was more. We were fortunate to find a part-time office assistant to help with the ever-growing workload in HR, and while I planned to handle the training, Jan stepped up without being asked and said she would ensure Kamala hit the ground running. "You're swamped too," she said. "I've got this." She spent quality time ensuring Kamala received the proper training she deserved and remained available to answer questions, but she didn't stop there either. In January, there was a need for administrative assistance in the city manager's office for 1 week. While I was navigating options to provide support, Jan popped into my office like she does, with a smile, of course, and said, "I'll do it." I was certain she was kidding, but she was serious. Having worked in the CM's office before, she felt well suited to assist. She said she'd forward 2 of the phones upstairs and she'd take her work upstairs with her. She would only leave that post if an employee needed to see her privately and if I wasn't available. And off she went, with a bounce in her step, arms full of the work she needed to get done, and get it all done she did. Jan's commitment to the city is so admirable and greatly appreciated. She has gone far above and beyond, and for these reasons, Jan Faselli, HR Analyst Extraordinaire, was nominated as the city's Employee of the Month for February 2021. And Jan, now that we're full staff again, you really need to take a break wherever you are.
No.
Come on up, Jan. Go, Jan. Off to Georgia you go.
Now, because Ron spoke so much, you won't be able to speak, but we'll expect.
I have to say something.
I mean, I don't think I deserve this any more than anybody else when they get Employee of the Month. I mean, that's what we do. We're a team. We jump in together. My job is to help the employees. I've always done that. I love it. I love working here. We have great people. David was great to work for when I worked for him for a brief time and supported most of you that were here. So I don't know. I don't know what to say, but thank you. I appreciate it. And I love everybody. So thank you so much.
City Manager, do I leave the Employee of the Year?
Madam Mayor, that next item, Employee of the Year, we're going to continue to a future date due to some unforeseen circumstances.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is item number 6, the alternative water supply update.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, Tim Volker, Utilities and Engineering Director. Today I'll be giving an update on the city's alternative water supply project. There are certain factors such as groundwater contamination and saltwater intrusion that have threatened the reliability and availability of the city's superficial aquifer system water supply. Therefore, the city is proactively planning to phase in a reverse osmosis water treatment plant to diversify its water supply. The RO facility consists of 3 phases. That's to be completed over 5 years. Each phase, or 3 phases to be completed over 15 years. Each phase will take 5 years. And the first phase consists of 4 project components. The first project component is the first Floridan aquifer well, which is shown kind of in the southeastern corner of the water treatment plant where the red dot is. The second component includes the well pump, the raw water main, and the actual RO facility. And then the third component is the concentrate pipeline, which takes the RO concentrate from the RO facility to the water reclamation facility, and then gets injected down the deep injection well located at the water reclamation facility. Now, even though this phase, it's one phase, the phase is going to be broken up into really these four components. Each component is going to have its own contractor because each of these four components is very specialized. You know, a well driller is not going to install a pipeline, and the pipeline contractor isn't going to build your building. So, you know, so the city doesn't get hit up with overhead profit by a general contractor. This is the most cost-efficient way to break out the project, and the city administers 4 different construction contracts. So the very first component is, as I mentioned, the Floridan Aquifer well, which is FA1. And this well was completed in December 2020, and here's a picture on this slide showing the completed well. It's drilled and cased and then drilled down to 1,620 feet below the surface. And testing of the well indicates it's a very productive well. The engineer of record describes it as a tiger of a well. Now you may be asking, why did we drill this well and cap it? And the reason why is in order to finish the design of the RO facility, we needed that water quality, 1,620 feet below the surface of the ground. So we went ahead, drilled this well, collected water quality samples, and then we were able to finalize the design of the membranes and all the equipment of the RO facility. So right now, the well's just capped, and then the second component of the project is the actual RO facility, and this is the most expensive component. It consists of what I mentioned, the well pump will be installed. We'll run a raw water main from the well to the actual RO facility, which is the building that houses the feed pumps, cartridge filters, and has the actual membranes housed inside. There'll be pre-treatment, post-treatment of the water, and then after the RO, it'll get blended with the existing lime softening plant. And right now, the design is 100% complete. We received the FDEP permit for construction of the improvements. And last week, we actually also received the FDEP or Environmental Resource Permit for the stormwater. So really, we could go to construction right now on this. So that's something we're going to look at once we kind of figure out the financing, and I'll get more into that later on in the presentation. Some important components of the actual RO facility is, as I mentioned, it's the most expensive component. So the footprint of the building was built out for all 3 phases. So as phase 2 and 3 come online, all we have to do is install the piping and the equipment. We don't have to add on to the building. We don't have to expand the footprint or anything like that. So that kind of drove up the cost. Some additional features of the RO building is we have some solar panels going in to power all the outlets and the light fixtures within the building. Unfortunately, it wasn't cost effective to have them run the pumps or the membranes. We also incorporated 2 rain gardens to take into account the additional impervious area being added on the water treatment plant site. And with that, as I mentioned, the concentrate pipeline design takes the concentrate from the RO facility up to the water reclamation facility. And right now, the pipeline's 90% design is complete. We received the permit to construct the pipeline, and you know, in the picture on this slide kind of shows the route. It is going through the East Stuart community. It will be installed via trenchless technology, so we're not going to be excavating the pipeline to install it. It's all going to be directionally drilled to minimize any impacts. The same with how our low-pressure sewer system was installed in the neighborhoods. You know, we won't rip up driveways, sidewalks. There'll be a couple areas we have to open cut, but they're very minimal. And then our last component is the deep injection well modification. These modifications are to the existing deep injection well located at the water reclamation facility. And really what we're doing to the deep injection well is installing a FRP liner. The deep injection well is 3,000 feet deep, so this liner will be installed almost the entire length to accept the new RO concentrate. Additional work that we'll be doing is also installing a brand new deep monitoring well to, monitor the deep injection well. Design is 60% complete, and we've submitted for the well permit modification. We received comments back, and we're looking to provide the responses to DEP's comments by the end of this month. So here's the project construction cost for 3 of the phases. We have the reverse osmosis facility, which I mentioned is the most expensive, coming in at about $14.2 million. The concentrate pipeline is about $1 million, and the deep injection well modifications are $4.5 million for a total of $19.7 million. With these costs, the costs include construction, CEI, and a 20% contingency. The city had the foresight back in 2017 when that rate study was done to account for these improvements coming online. So the 2017 rate study started fiscal year 2018. So since 2018, the city's rates have been incorporating, these improvements coming online. In 2018, 19, and 20, the rates were increased by 7%, and this year they were increased 2%, and fiscal year 22 will be the last year of the rate study with a 2% rate increase. Funding received to date, the city's been pretty successful so far with receiving funding. We've received about $1.8 million. We received a $100,000 South Florida Water Management District Alternative Water Supply Grant for construction of the Floridan well. We received a $250,000 state appropriation for the design of the RO facility. For the well construction, the city utilized SRF loan for that, and we had a principal forgiveness of $460,000. And then just last fiscal year, we received $1 million state appropriation for construction of the RO facility. And there's also potential future funding. Back in September, Utilities and Engineering submitted for a Florida Department of Economic Opportunity CDBG mitigation grant for $11.7 million. I actually found out yesterday afternoon that we were unsuccessful with that, so that's the bad news. The good news, though, is there's 2 more application cycles with that. There's, I believe, like $450 million or $475 million to be split up over those 3 years. So the next 2 application cycles, we're going to obviously go after another application on. We've had brief discussions with the grant consultant on how to improve our score for the project. This fiscal year, we have a $500,000 state appropriation in to help us with the deep well modifications. And then next commission meeting, you'll be seeing a grant application on the agenda for another South Florida Water Management District Alternative Water Supply Grant. That's a 50-50 grant. They'll fund up to 50% of the project cost. which could potentially be $6.5 million. Next couple weeks, I'm going to have a conversation with them to see if it's maybe better for the city to not ask for that entire amount in 1 year and go, piece by piece next couple years. So you may see that amount, just decrease because there's only so much funding available. And with that, does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. I know that we have, I think, Mr. McDonald and Mr. Meyer. I'm not sure if anybody else, and I have a question. I'll probably just ask mine first because you probably touched on it last, which was about improving the score. And I know that we have a lot of coastal cities in Florida. I was just wondering if there's anything with our location being a coastal area, if that helps any to try to see if there's anything on that scale of trying to improve our grant.
Yeah,
points.
what the grant consultant mentioned in our conversation was when we originally submitted back in September, the design was only 60% complete. We're at 100% right now and moving forward with the project, so you get certain points on how complete the project is. Another score rating is how much money the city can put forth to the project. Obviously, they like to see a higher percentage. So with that, if we get some additional grants, city has potentially some water availability fees we could utilize. And then if we get the financing lined up also with either SRF or a bond, that would help improve our score with that too.
Thank you. Commissioner
welcome.
McDonald?
Hey, Tim, just a question. The deep well injection modification, I saw that was $4.4 million. What? Because I'm pretty sure we already have the deep well there. Why is it so expensive?
Yeah, it's because it's 3,000 feet into the earth.
You have to make it bigger?
Actually, we're decreasing the capacity. So the water reclamation facility right now has 2 deep injection wells. And the well IW2, which we're going to and modifying, is the larger of the 2. So by inserting a liner, the diameter is actually decreasing. So the capacity that can go down that well will decrease, which we can handle. We have sufficient capacity to do that. To drill a new deep injection well, if we look to site it actually on the water treatment plant, and we wouldn't have to run $1 million pipeline or do 4.5 in modifications. However, it's like $8 to $10 million to drill, 3,000 feet into the earth. So.
And what exactly is that we're pumping down in there? I know it's the waste.
Yeah, it's and it's like a brine solution. It's the salt, it's the chloride concentration from the Floridan aquifers, saltwater like. So all that salt, when it goes through the membranes, is getting removed, and all that brine solution would be getting pumped down the deep injection well.
Like a desalinization plant, basically.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, just not as high a salt concentration as seawater.
Right. And I think that's all I have for now, but it sounds like you guys are doing a great job on the project. Thanks for keeping us updated.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Volkers. I'm glad we're getting updates on this. I was glad to see you present to the joint city-county school district meeting. This is one of our largest projects in recent memory, if not ever. Technical question, that FRP liner, is that just to prevent corrosion in the well casing
Yep.
from the brine?
It's steel right now, so
It would
Exactly.
deteriorate with the brine. So in the RO facility, I think you do a good job of explaining the phasing, but I think it's also important to clarify for myself and to communicate with the public. The RO facility not only is important for desalinization of the Floridan aquifer water, it also, does that also help remove the PFAS contaminants in our existing wells, or does that not cover that?
It would not cover that.
Okay.
But what would be able to happen is we wouldn't be relying on the superficial wells as much. So as we phase in these new wells, you gradually come off the superficial. So we wouldn't need the PFC treatment system as much because we would be utilizing the RO more.
Right.
You know, there's an advantage and disadvantage with that. With the RO, the power, energy costs are a lot more.
Right.
However, your lime softening, you're not utilizing it as much anymore either. So there's, you know, a difference.
What was the total cost for the construction of the Aquifer well, the FA1?
The well to drill was, at construction cost was about $1.2 million. And, you know, with the principal forgiveness, it'll, you know, drop that down.
800, 900?
Yes.
I think it would be good I know you were looking forward, just to include that in our financials when we see it moving forward,
Sure.
everything to date, just so we can see the total picture.
Okay, will do.
And then, as for the grant opportunities, I'm glad we're seeking them, and I'm really glad that we're working with our consultant to see how we can improve our score next time around. I wonder, I know we're looking at all available, or are we looking at all available grant opportunities for funding? I know you had mentioned the solar panels. I mean, there are small grants out there for renewable energy generation, and, you know, I'm not looking to increase the budget cost to power more, but perhaps we could find some grants to help offset some of those construction costs.
Okay.
I don't know if that's been looked into, but, and then with the South Florida Water Management District grant, I understand, and I'll talk about it in my commissioner comments later, one of the big asks from the Florida Association of Counties, I've recently learned, one of their big policy positions this year is taking up the legislature on PFAS regulations, and they're going to be specifically asking for funds for mitigation. So I think it's a wise idea to phase this project out, phase the funding out and the construction out, because I'm very confident people in the water and utilities are pretty confident that those grant funds are going to start becoming available in the next few years, even because the PFAS situation is affecting everybody in Florida and around the country. So look into those as well. As those come online, I think there might be some option, even though we're not mitigating PFAS, we're moving away from PFAS in our water supply. We could argue that this is part of that. But anyway, thanks a lot. It's an update.
In regards to the timeline, you know, as you mentioned it's going to be probably 2 to 3 years of construction. So just because we're under construction doesn't mean we still can't go after grants. Typically with a grant, you can only get money for what you haven't built yet.
Right.
So, you know, if there's something we haven't built yet, but there's a grant out there, you can bet we're going to try for it at least.
And you say we're 100% completed with the design of the RO facility?
Yes, sir.
And we're 60% complete with the wellhead, with the deep water injection well?
The deep injection well, 60%, and the concentrate's about 90. Those two items can start after the RO facility and be completed before the RO facility. Like the actual facility is critical to get started first,
Right.
because that's what's going to take the 2 to 3 years. The deep well modification and the pipeline could start after and still finish before. So.
Sorry. And then we had talked a while back with Kathy LaMartina at the Water Management District about potentially partnering and some sort of grant funding to maybe get rid of the brine into the river as if it were a way to help keep the salinity up.
Yeah, and we looked into that, and the issue so another reason to drill the well was to get the water quality, so we could also look at disposal into the river. The issue is it's the nitrates and nitrites in that water from the Floridan would increase the nutrient loading to the river. So yes, the salinity you're increasing, however, you're also contributing to the nutrient loading, which is the issue.
That's not what we want.
That's why we nixed that to go into the deep well,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Man, I wish we could just like boil it off and make like a Morton Crystals thing and sell it, sell it to some water softener salt. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate
You're
it, Mr.
welcome.
Volker.
Any, Mr. Matheson, do you have any questions? Ms. Bruno? Ms. Bruno has a question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, with all this money, Tim, does this mean like we're good for another 25 years or what?
Yeah, the Floridan's a real reliable aquifer. It's the intent is to have it last 20, 25, 30 years. Obviously, there'll be maintenance to keep it up, but, you know, spending this type of money, we don't want to obviously get off it too fast, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Mr. Matheson?
I have no questions. I've spoken to you about this before, Tim. I think this is a great project. I agree with Commissioner Meyer. I wish ideally we could find a beneficial use of the brine slurry. You know, if anyone wants to start a salt therapy business, we've got a good supply of product, I think.
We can use it on the roads in the winter.
Right? Milwaukee, like I always think about Milorganite. You see it in the store. Milwaukee takes their sewage material, they dry it, and they package it up, and people pay for their waste product. I mean, we got to get creative here, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Volker.
Mayor,
Your day will come when you'll have an award as something or something, I don't know.
may I
The
ask
more
one more
grants you
question?
get, Miss, you have a question for Mr. Volker?
Yeah, I thought of one more thing, Tim. It's, as we're doing wells, what's the difference in what you're doing over there than what they do in north of the lake when they dig to put the yucky water down?
The ASR wells, so with the ASR wells, the theory is it goes down, the water goes down a well and you eventually pull it back up. So we're just not putting that water down it, we're just taking what's down into the aquifer already and bringing it out. So we're just not putting anything down it and taking it out, just bringing what's existing there.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Commissioner Bruner. The next item is item number 7, and before we start this item, I have a protocol question for our city manager and our city attorney. There's a consent item number 9 that's kind of related to this. Item number 7, I think. I intend to pull that item, but because this is a presentation, and I think that there might be people who may have a question also possibly on item number 9, I was wondering if we would allow the public to give any type of comment or ask comment after the presentation on item number 7.
That would be up to the discretion of the person running the meeting.
Okay. All right, so if we have anybody who may be interested after the presentation, we'll allow you to give your 3 minutes, but there's also a budget item on item number 9 related to this vegetation. So the next item is item number 7, presentation by Aquaculture on mechanical removal of aquatic vegetation on Lake Okeechobee. Thank you.
Good evening, good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, Commissioners, good people of Stuart. Thank you very much for your time. My name is, my name is Mike Elfenbein. I am a conservationist, born and raised in Miami. I live on the southwest coast of Florida now with my family. And I'm coming here to share with you some great news that I think your city and just about anybody in South Florida would be happy with. And of course, as you mentioned, associated with the agenda item 9. Several months ago in June, I was contacted by a congressman in North Florida and a doctor at the University of Florida, Dr. Canfield. He's a limnologist, a lake doctor. And he mentioned that they were working on a water quality project in the St. Johns River. And they knew of my work in conservation in South Florida and thought that there might be a way to apply what they were applying in St. Johns to our issues here with Lake Okeechobee and the water discharges and nutrient issues that we have. Short of the long is that They have found a company, Aquaculture, who has a patented technology that has the ability to remove nutrients from water bodies by using mechanical harvesting, and also the ability to remove those nutrients from water bodies by removing the unconsolidated sludge or muck off the bottom of a lake. And through many steps with many different agencies, the Water Management District, Department of Agriculture, Consumer Services, DEP, the Army Corps of Engineers, and Department of Interior, we were scrutinized by the leadership and the scientists of all those agencies, and they thought that this project had merit. And as of this morning, we received notification from the FWC and DEP that our grant in the amount of $500,000 was awarded. And with the sponsorship of FWC and co-sponsorship of the Army Corps of Engineers, we are going to begin on a venture of removing nutrients from Lake Okeechobee. Some of the benefits to this project is not just clean water, but reducing the frequency and intensity of harmful algal blooms in the lake, restoring nutrients to our soils, sequestering carbon from the atmosphere and the earth, and using agriculture as a solution to many of our problems. Nick Zabot is here from Aquaculture. He is going to he's a really smart dude, a lot smarter than I am. He's going to give you guys a lot of information and details about how this process works. But essentially, we came here today soliciting the support of the city, knowing that the city exists in the 16-county South Florida Water Management District and has to suffer through a lot of the problems that we suffer through across the region. Until now, there hasn't been anybody looking at resolving this issue. And for me, as a sportsman, as a conservationist, clean water, healthy ecological system, and abundant wildlife in South Florida is very important to me. And this project will help us attain those goals over a long period of time. So the purpose here was to solicit your support. We have solicited support from a dozen counties and cities in the region. And like we have here today, they've adopted resolutions in support of that. I'm not here to ask you for money, resources, time, or energy. Just simply that the city recognizes the importance of what we're doing and shows state and federal legislators for the sake of funding down the road that you do support this and would like to see it happen. So I'll stop talking and I'll let Nick come up here and explain to you how this project is going to work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sir, could you just come forward and identify yourself for us? Thanks.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Nick Sabot. I'm one of the owners of Aquaculture.
If you could pull the mic up a little bit.
Yeah.
You can push it up, yeah.
There we go.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, my name is Nick Sabot. I'm one of the owners of Aquaculture and really appreciate you taking the time to let us speak today. I'll have you know that in 2016 I made the trip to Stuart just to see all the algae that was in the waterways, and that was quite a mess. That was you guys had your hands full back then.
That's an understatement.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I'll make this quick. I know you guys have a lot on your agenda, so I'll go through it as quickly as possible. But basically, we're committed to becoming a watershed to agriculture and restoring it to its rightful place in the economy. This is substantiated through our ability to envision the big picture and pinpoint the inefficiencies within our industry and provide solutions, which ultimately contributes to our mandate, commitment, and success. Next slide. So we'll just go through our road, solution, how the system works, the product, our valuable final products, and then we can get to questions and comments. So just give you a little history. I grew up on a farm in Ontario, Canada, and started coming across the border in the 90s and realized I was in the wrong country. And been down here since 2008. I've done quite a few government projects as well, and also working with some of the largest farms here in the United States, helping them with their water and phosphorus issues, like Tyson, Cargill, Smithfield Foods, just to mention a few. Next slide. There we go. So the history of aquatic weeds and algae, just to let you know, NASA kind of started me down this road. They were able to take their sewage water and make clean drinking water back in the late 70s. So the work of Dr. Bill Wolverton. Because of their success, they made clean drinking water in 1 week from their sewage lagoons. So because of their success, a lot of cities adopted this in the southern United States. One in particular was the city of San Diego. They were able to clean all their sewer water using water hyacinths, and it was quite successful. We spoke to the superintendent, who's still alive today. But what happened was they had a huge pile of water hyacinths the size of a football field. Nobody knew what to do with it. It started to stink, so they went ahead and spent about $1 billion on a standard sewage treatment facility and shut down the old one. Austin, Texas still uses a system like that today, and there's research going on cleaning water all around the world using aquatic weeds and algae and different types of vegetation. Next slide. So yeah, mechanical harvesting, what happened next? Mechanical harvesting of algae, but more specifically water hyacinths, was cumbersome and inefficient. Secondly, no one at the time had a simple solution for handling and disposing of the plant material. Most often the plant material was left on the side of the bank, resulting in point source pollution. So there's a lot of harvesting companies out there now. They bring the weeds to shore, they dump it, and they let it rot. But what happens is a lot of that material just goes back into the lake, perpetuating the cycle. So we're not actually fixing the problem. Right, next slide. We found this photo from back in 1963 when they started doing aerial applications using products such as DDT and then precursor to Roundup and other different types of chemicals to suppress weeds. Next slide. So our system is basically to remove, liquefy, apply, grow, and harvest, right? Close the loop. So we want to harvest unconsolidated muck, algae, aquatic weeds, which we call the product, with our patented system. Immediately process the product into a liquid form, pump the product to shore with our patented hose, apply the harvested liquefied product as a soil amendment for nutrient uptake via growing native grass. This grass can be eventually harvested for further remove phosphorus from the area and sold as hay. Really simple process. Next slide. So I brought a picture here of a standard baler. You see those big round bales out in hay fields. This one here, we wrap it in plastic. The reason we wrap it in plastic is to keep all the goodness inside. And so when you do that, you can actually measure how much phosphorus and nitrogen you're removing, right? So what happens to those nutrients? You take it from the lake, you put it on the hay field, you bale up the hay, you measure it, and you haul those bales as far north as you possibly can out of the watershed, effectively removing those nutrients. Next slide. Product applicator. This is a standard applicator we use in the Midwest. When you take that material and you juice it, it's like 1/8 of an inch of rain when you put it on the grass. So the agencies were saying, well, wait a second, all this is going to run back into the lake and it's going to perpetuate. Well, hold on a sec. No, it's like a little sprinkle of rain. That's it. You cut the grass, you bale it up, and you put another application on, right? Next slide. Mechanical harvesting. So this is a picture of a standard conventional harvester. They harvest the weeds, haul them to shore, place them on a barge or shuttle the weeds back and forth, spending more time shuttling than harvesting. So these harvesters do 3 miles an hour. If you go a couple miles out on a lake, it's going to take you a long time to go back and forth, and it's tough to do more than a couple acres a day with a standard harvester. Next slide. The Army Corps of Engineers and FWC was asking about harvesting in shallow waters. They said we need someone that can go in, a foot of water because that's where a lot of the weeds are. So we went to a company in Louisiana and we built this airboat, and we put about 40,000 pounds on it, went out in the middle of the swamp and parked there for about 10 minutes. You're not supposed to do that with an airboat because you usually get stuck. And he turned it on and popped right out of there. The Army Corps liked it so much after Hurricane Irma, they used this machine to pull a bunch of boats out of the weeds because it was the only thing that could get it out. It's about 3,000 horsepower. It's next slide. Processor. So it's basically it's a simple machine they use here in Florida when you're processing oranges, orange peelings, carrot peelings, apple peelings. We're using that same technology that's been around for about 50, 60 years now to juice the weeds. Next slide. So this here is it as a irrigation reel. They also use it in agriculture for broadcasting manure. We're going to use that same technology to spread the material on the land. Real simple. It goes back and forth. And when we talked with the Army Corps of Engineers, they got pretty excited because they asked if we would be able to help the grass on the levees because they get a lot of erosion. And absolutely, we work with grass all the time because the Army Corps said they spend, and don't quote me, I think it was verbal, but millions of dollars rebuilding the dikes annually because of erosion. And the reason that happens is you cut the grass clippings fall down the hill, and then there's not enough nutrients for the grass. So they want to put some of this material back on the levee as an organic soil amendment to help strengthen the levee so they don't get the same erosion. Right? Next slide. Soil amendment. So after the algae water hyacinths, it's proven to clean water through plants' ability to absorb nutrients such as phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen, just to name a few, and store it in the plant. Through third-party analysis, these nutrients have been measured and contain the perfect balance for conventional crops. So that was kind of a surprise to us. When we analyzed the plants, we took it to a few crop growers and said, hey, what do you think of this analysis? And they said, hey, that'll work. That'll grow grass, that'll grow corn, it'll grow sugar cane. So there's definitely a way to repurpose what a lot of people consider a waste. Next slide. So the major benefits of our aquaculture system, it's sustainable, it's viable, it's green. We're repurposing a waste, as I just stated. A lot of these weeds go to landfills or they just wind up rotting on the bank. Reduce chemical use. We know we're not going to get rid of all chemical spraying, but in the open waters where there's hundreds or thousands of acres, we don't need to spray those. We'll harvest those and repurpose those weeds. The byproduct of our system is cleaner water, right? Improved local economy. We'll be creating a lot of jobs doing this type of work, and more importantly, less nutrients being imported from other states and keeping those nutrients right here. Sequester carbon. You've probably all heard of the Kyoto Accord and carbon sequestration, and so all this stuff is full of carbon, right? The muck and plants, it's all made up of carbon, so let's put it back on the land and keep it there. And then proven technology, all the pieces of equipment we're using are being used today. We're just bringing 5 different pieces together as one homogeneous system to work very efficiently. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you. First, we'll have our commissioners make their comments on your presentation, if they have any comments.
Madam Mayor, I do, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You mentioned early on in the presentation your mandate. What's the mandate?
So if you think about like Florida, for example, Florida used to be an agricultural powerhouse. Like as a kid growing up north, my Christmas present was an orange along with a few others, right? And you just dreamt of Florida. Only rich people went to Florida to visit, and I wasn't one of those. And so when I came down in my 20s for the first time, I was kind of shocked that a lot of those farms were gone. And they're now pastures or just trees or pastures that barely grow grass. And lakes like Lake Apopka used to be the #1 fishing lake, I think, in the world at one time. And when I came to visit, there wasn't a boat on the water. They were gone. And, you know, just to name a few. So when you think about that, everywhere we've taken our technology, agriculture has flourished. And so we're like, we've done this in other areas. What's going to happen when we do it in Florida, right? We've seen land do really well, healthier crops, people staying on the farm and farming longer, just to name a few. So yeah, that's the mission.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And so this is primarily, so are your organization is going to be the lead in negotiating with the local ranches and hay farmers?
Correct.
And so you'll be, I mean, is there, what sort of oversight and testing and, I mean, monitoring is there going to be? Is that through DEP?
Right,
And
daily.
Okay.
Yeah, University of Florida is going to be in charge of all testing. They want to know how many pounds of nutrients removed per acre, how long it takes, what happens once you put it on the ground, what happens to the bacteria. A lot of questions on cyanobacteria. We found sunlight kills it, which is great. So we put it on, the sun hits it, it's dead. So we kill the cyanobacteria. What happens to the algae? What happens to hydrilla? All of these different things. And they want the plant completely destroyed, annihilated, right? They don't want to just put a whole plant on the ground. What if we get 10 inches of rain and it floats back to the water? They want it shredded. So we'll just juice it, right? So
this is, so this $500,000 grant is for an initial kind of experimental trial period with the Army Corps?
Right, it's never been done.
Okay.
And some people have a hard time believing that you can first juice a plant, but the plants are 95% water. Well, they're only 5% solids, and we pump 95% water and 5% solids all day long. So it's just a matter of liquefying it so you can pump it. So when we did our tests with the Army Corps, FWC, South Florida came out, they saw when we juiced the plant, they asked an engineer there who happened to be part of the largest pumping company in the United States, and they said, hey, can you pump this stuff? It looks like a smoothie. And they said, well, how far you want to go? We'll get you to California if you want. I'm like, okay, that was. So yeah, it's been vetted very, very much, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. Nobody?
So,
Okay.
how do you protect any living animals in the aquatic vegetation from getting juiced?
Right, that was a big question, and we had to do a lot of homework on that because when you get into hydrilla, there's a lot of life in there, especially water hyacinths, and you got fish. And so we started looking at what do fishing vessels do, right, when they want to scare fish or, and we actually looked at the pirates. What do the pirates do to stop the big fishing corporations? And what they have is they got two little sledgehammers that are spring-loaded underwater, and when you hit those hammers together, it sends a shock wave through the water, and when marine life hears that, they drop. Just like that. In the vegetation, you smack that, and you may not get them all, but they hit a little bit of panic, and they dive. And so we figured since we're going through the top, we should alleviate a lot of it. I'm sure we'll get some, but the idea is just to spook them and get them to drop.
Okay. So you said it's 95% water.
Correct.
But we're depositing on the land the equivalent of 1/8 of an inch of rain. Where's the excess water going?
Well, because it's such a small amount, a lot of that water is going to evaporate when you put it on the surface. And we're mostly sandy soils, and so that little bit of water either evaporates or goes into the dirt. But you imagine like an 1/8 of an inch of rain barely gets the pavement wet, right? And then it's gone. It just evaporates, but the solids stay there and the nutrients stay there, right? And that's the goal, is to get those nutrients to where they can be utilized on the land.
But so if you take, an acre of aquatic vegetation out, is all of that going directly to the fields, or is some of that liquid being filtered and just water being deposited back into the lake?
Right. No, 100% of the plant is going to the field. So when you pick it up, the plants are wet, but you're not taking much water other than whatever water is the moisture on the plant. Okay. That's the only water that goes with it. We can't put any of that water back because they consider that point source pollution, because the liquid inside of the plant contains the phosphorus, the potassium, the nitrogen, and they want to keep that on the land. That's a good question.
I invited them to come present. I was adamant. Our resolution is supporting, in my mind, the methodology that is being proposed, not any one particular business. I 100% support the physical removal of the aquatic vegetation that is uptaking the nitrogen and phosphorus in South Florida and our country's water bodies. And where we went wrong as humans was to try and just choose the simple route and spray it. And, oh yeah, that helps. And then it goes to the bottom and dies and creates a muck layer. And we didn't actually remove any of the nutrients. And as we just learned, none of the nutrients are going back onto the land. And our South Florida has some fertile land because it was all wetlands. Ideally, they'd be sitting here saying to us that all these fields will be recreated back into wetlands, and but I absolutely support the mechanical removal of aquatic vegetation over some of the alternatives that have been used in the past, which is spraying, or, as was stated, just removing the vegetation and letting it pile up on a shoreline and not having it become a beneficial use.
Thank you. Commissioner McDonald?
How long does it take to do to remove an acre of aquatic vegetation?
Right. So when we combine corn, for example, or soybeans, we do 200 acres a day. And so what we're proposing to the agencies is that give us a shot at it. We're going to work with what we have, but once this model develops, we will get faster, right? So the goal is to do maybe 50 acres a day.
Okay.
Is the idea once we get going.
How many acres of aquatic vegetation do you think are actually in the lake?
Well, when we talked to the Corps, they found 2,500 acres all of a sudden at once, and we know those weeds double in size every week under the right conditions. So you could get up to 10,000 acres.
Okay. I agree with Commissioner Mathis. I think that this is an opportunity as to see how it works, and I look forward to seeing how the results come out. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner? Commissioner Bruner?
Yeah, I'm very happy for you. I'm excited about this. I wish you great success.
Thank
You know, like 3 years ago around the lake, the fishermen weren't screaming as much as they have been these last couple years. Let's say the last 12 months. They're so sick of this and what the damage it's doing to their lake and all the other lakes. And I know that they've had people spraying, and it's just not the answer. Well, I hope this works, because I think you got the answer.
I appreciate that, and you raise a very important point, because one of the first things we did was we called the top 6 anglers in the state that we were aware of. We said, hey, we want to go harvest these weeds. What do you guys think about that? And they said, don't touch the weeds. Leave the weeds alone. Weeds feed fish. Fish is economy. That's our business. Get out of here. And I said, well, I don't know if that's going to happen. They're going to want to take some out. If you had to take some of the weeds out, how would you do it? They said, oh, edges. Create edges. What do you mean? Well, why? So, well, bass are lazy. They like to sit at the edge, and when a little crawfish sticks its head out, they just jump up and bite it and sit there and wait for the next one. So if you create more edges, like a checkerboard pattern, said, we'll have the best fish ever. We used to get 13-pounders every minute back in the day, but now you're lucky to get a 13-pounder in a month. Now they only get 10-pounders, and so the whole fish industry is falling apart. And when you spray the weeds, you kill the fish food too. And then the fish leave. Then there's nothing. So with FWC, they said, well, maybe we can make a pathway, 50 yards wide, so pleasure cruisers can still get through, get into those areas, but leave a portion of those plants to optimize the fishing, optimize pleasure boating, and still keep the fish alive. And, any of these projects, everyone has to win. If there's one loser in any public project, it never works out. So we spent years trying to find out who would lose. We can't find anybody that would lose so far.
Have you met Dr. Gray yet?
I had a conversation with him a while ago. We're working with Dr. Dan Canfield. He's very passionate about getting the muck out, and yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Do we have anyone who'd like to comment on this presentation? Ms. Pipes, would you like to comment now? Ms. Nyla Pipes.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a while since I've been before you. Nyla Pipes, One Florida Foundation, and I'm going to start with my roots a little bit, because many of you know me and you know that I've been a passionate advocate for solutions to Florida's water problems for quite some time. That comes because my family, when we first moved to Florida, my parents ahead of me in 2007, we kept our boat over at St. Lucie Marine, otherwise known as Central Marine these days. And in 2013, when I had the fortune of meeting so many of you under very unfortunate times with the algal blooms that we were all facing, we had our boat at Loggerhead Marina right over there under the Roosevelt Bridge. It eventually got to a point where the water quality in the St. Lucie River was so bad that we could no longer justify keeping our family's boat there, spending as much time right there at that particular hot spot. So I started fighting for our river, and I have fought alongside many of you looking for solutions and trying to figure out the best way forward. We formed One Florida Foundation, Captain Don Voss and I, may he rest in peace, in 2013. And the whole idea was to find things that would actually work. If we sit around and we wait for Everglades restoration forever, first of all, it doesn't answer all the questions. And secondly, we all know how long it's taking. So the reason I'm here before you today is because this is one of those things that I firmly believe is going to be a very important tool in our toolbox. What is so beautiful about this, as Nick said, there is nobody losing. You know, he talked a lot about agriculture and the need to regenerate our lands. We need to regenerate our lands, not just for agriculture's sake, but because they offer the filtration that we so much need. So many of those pastures north of the lake will benefit from having nutrients put back on them, having better plant growth that's going to uptake the nutrients and help us have a cleaner water system downstream. So it's not just about ag being productive, it's about the land being productive so that our waters are cleaner. And I think that's a really important point. The other thing is the reason that we've been going between cities and county commissions and whatnot in South Florida Water Management District is because we believe that this is going to be not only a solution on Lake O, but a tool that y'all can use right here. This is scalable. Once we can show how this will work with this pilot project, the ability to scale it up or down, maybe apply it in a local canal that is more adjacent to your river right here, that is within your jurisdiction as the city of Stuart, I think that that possibility is there. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents on this and tell you why I'm supporting this, and hopefully you guys will as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pipes.
Nyla.
Any other commissioners or any other member of the public on this presentation alone? Sir? Oh.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Brower. I'm from DeLeon Springs, Florida. I drove 3 hours today to come here originally to encourage you in doing this. Now I just want to thank you for having the foresight to bring this presentation to this commission. I have an organic farm in DeLeon Springs. We raise, we raise children, and a lot of them, because farming is expensive, so we grow our own farm labor. We grow organic vegetables, we have dairy, we have beef, and it's all grass-fed. It's all organic. Water quantity and quality is probably the most pressing issue that we face in Florida. I live on the St. Johns River, right off the St. Johns. A lot of the problems that we have in the St. Johns and all of our lakes starts in Lake Okeechobee, and it flows north. Cyanobacteria is killing animals and making my residents sick. It runs right past me in DeLeon Springs and goes into our county seat, which is DeLand, Florida, where I happen to serve as the Volusia County Council Chair. So I wanted to come down here and look at the people that had the foresight to do this, and I commend you. And I'm really happy to see how seriously you're taking it. And so I'm going to be calling on you, because I want aquaculture to come to Volusia County to help our lakes. We have lakes that are full of this sludge. And in that sludge, as he pointed out, is life. I also have an organic-based landscape company, and we restore dead land. What our land needs is good bacteria, and this will do that. I've investigated them. I want to see it work here. I'm going to call on you to ask you to help us in Volusia County with letters, emails, whatever. But thank you for having the foresight to do this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please contact our city manager if you need to find us or talk to us about anything. Thank you. Sir?
Thank you. Well, I drove for about 5 minutes. I live here locally. I'm from Miami originally, and ironically, I went to Maritime and Science Technology with Mike, and I've been living in the Keys the last 10 years. I moved up here about 3 years ago as a commercial fisherman, and unfortunately, this is my backyard now. And
What's
I
your
use
address and name?
1606 Pine Lake Drive.
What's your name, sir?
David Weston.
Thank
And, you know, I heard this presentation probably for the first time about 6 months ago, and man, I got excited. And because all I hear is save our river, but how do you save the river without a solution? And here's a solution, and I can't tell you if it works or not. I'm not a scientist, but it sounds pretty good, and it sounds like we should be trying it, and people should be listening, and we should be trying this. And so I'm pretty excited about it, and we need to get to a solution that allows us to have oysters in the bay, because I can go bring buckets of oysters out all along this river of dead oysters. And until we have a healthy population of oysters, we're never going to clean this water, and we're going to be battling this the rest of our lives. And we've got to find a way to clean that water, send it south. It's not just send it south, it's not send it to Naples, it's clean it and then return natural flow. And then we've got to get oysters in here to filter the water. And that's the most important thing, is having a healthy oyster bed system. And that's pretty much all ended there. But thank you guys for the time. I really appreciate you guys getting this on the docket.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Weston, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. Much appreciated. Now we have comments by our city commissioners. Can I start with our former vice mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy Black History Month for everybody. I'll be brief. I know I mentioned earlier about the Florida Association of Counties taking a position on PFAS. I tried my best to get the Florida League of Cities to do the same. It didn't survive our policy committee, but I will be bringing to you for hopefully next meeting draft resolution in support of the state addressing PFAS and hopefully providing funding opportunities for it, which could be good for us in our alternative water supply. There is one bad bill right now that we are tracking on behalf of the Florida League of Cities. It's House Bill 219. There is a Senate companion. It's a short-term rentals bill. This is gaining a lot of steam, and it, from what we hear, it is very likely to pass. It goes up to committee on Wednesday. Our Representative Overdorf is on that committee. I will send to David Dias the information on it for all of you, if you wouldn't mind just sending a note to the members of that committee and asking them to, well, the Florida League of Cities is in opposition to the bill. Basically what it would do would preempt local governments from having any regulatory oversight over short-term rentals in their community. We currently don't have any ordinances on short-term rentals here. However, it would prevent us from ever being able to do it in the future. There are many local governments around the state that have ordinances on the books, and this would repeal them. So it's an example of small government, local government not being able to take care of its own, you know, it's eroding home rule. Toby, Representative Overdorf, I should say, did tell me that he is pretty much in support of the bill. He believes in private property rights, he says. So I don't think we have a very good shot with him in telling him not to support the bill. However, I think we could have a good shot with both him and Senator Harrell in urging them to at least put language in the bill that would require any short-term rental company that is doing this to collect the bed tax. Right now, that is not required. And there are while VRBO and Airbnb say they do collect it on behalf, and I believe they do, and remit it to the state. We do not. There are new technologies and new services out there that are not collecting it. And so if we can't regulate it, we should at least make sure we're getting the proper tax dollars for it, because there are other local businesses, hospitality businesses are required to collect those taxes. I will keep you all abreast of these bills as they come up before session and into session. And for the benefit of all of you and the public, there is a really cool new initiative out of the Florida League of Cities. It's called buildingstrongercities.com. And they've created a really great easy-to-use advocacy tool. It allows you to sign up with your email and phone number, and you can get a text alert anytime there's a big bill that would impact home rule, our ability of us local government officials to protect our citizens in ways that make sense for our communities. So that's it. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Bruner?
wanted just to read this, a little story that was in the newspaper. It won't take me but a minute. A right whale, it was just so happy to read it. I was happy. A right whale calf and its mother were confirmed by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission officials off Palm Beach Inlet at 4:45 Wednesday. FWC reminds boaters to remain at least 500 yards away according to the federal law. The mother right whale is believed to be one nicknamed Champagne. She is 12 years old and a first-time mother. The pair was first sighted by the FWC whale team January 21st off Amelia Island and has been making their way south ever since. The whales were seen a couple of hundred yards offshore just outside Busy Inlet heading southbound. Right whales, it's such a strange name for a whale, isn't it? Right whales, I always thought that.
Excuse
Which
me,
number about
I'm sorry,
400.
Commissioner Bruner?
Mike, pardon?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm getting reports that people can't hear you. Could you put your microphone closer?
yes,
to you?
ma'am.
Thank you.
Right whales, which number about 400, migrate south for warmer waters in winter. Humpback whales, pilot whales, great white sharks, and whale sharks also can be observed in the waters off South Florida during the winter months. 12 new right whale calves had been identified as of January 12th, making this season a productive year for the species. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bruno, thank you for that. Commissioner McDonald.
Hey, thank you very much. Let me make sure I get my microphone here where you can hear me. So, a couple things. One is I'm going to hand out to all the other commissioners here. Here's one for Commissioner Bruder. Take one for myself. You just pass these on down. These are the quarterly report for the Business Development Board. The Business Development Board has revamped its reporting, and I think it's much more accurate and also maybe I think a little more thorough and easier to understand. But I want to take a couple quick highlights from the report that relate to the city. One in particular, there's a new business going in. It's a relocation here to Martin County. I think they were in St. Lucie County to start with Grind Hard Ammo. It's an ammunition manufacturer, and they've taken over. They purchased the old YMCA building on Willoughby. They're putting in it's a 25,000 square foot building, and they're putting in $20 million of investment, and it's going to create at least 20 new jobs. I've talked to the owner of the company, and he said he's going to start with 20, but he anticipates several more. So that's a new job in a fairly large investment within our city. So I'm looking forward to once they get all their equipment in and seeing what the tax implications are for us. So that'll be very exciting.
Mr. McDonald, are they building ammunitions or grinding down ammunitions?
They're manufacturing ammunition. They're an ammunition manufacturer. So, they make all grades, both civilian, military, I believe civilian, military, police. And again, it's going to be a great employer here in Stuart. So let's see, at this time, also, city staff is working with the Business Development Board staff, and we're reevaluating the contract, the agreement with Business Development Board. It's that time to do that. They're working hard, the two staffs are working hard to make sure that we get maximum benefit for the city while maintaining the business development's overall mission. A couple of things that we're looking and making sure it's in the agreement are going to be continuation of things that we're already doing, such as the BAP program, but also we've added job fairs, such as Commissioner Matheson has requested, and the BDB is, I believe, working with you on that. So, and that's coming along, and I saw some Facebook posts out there regarding getting the employers involved. So, also, I've been working with both the Business Development Board and the NAACP to create a entrepreneurship program that is like the Business Accelerator program, but a prerequisite for cottage industries, and working towards helping minority businesses which we have several of them working out of their homes in Stuart. These are your landscapers, your pool maintenance guys. There's a lot of different businesses like that. So we're working with the NAACP to create an entrepreneurship program to help people bring their jobs, their business to that next level. And with the partnership with the NAACP, we can draw in more minorities to help them. So there's a wonderful woman that just joined their board who works at Seacoast, Tiffany. She's been fabulous, has joined the NAACP board. She's doing a great job participating. And so that's exciting. Next thing is, I saw and I'm sorry, but I have a lot today. I saw
What's up, mister? Can I bother you a bit? When you have the BAP awards, if you have anybody in our city, can you let us know so that they
Yes.
can be recognized?
Yes, I will. I'll make sure that the Business Development Board Executive Director notifies Mr. Dias.
Okay, thanks. Go on.
Okay, so next thing is I saw a Facebook post from Congressman Mast, I believe it was Friday, and he was talking about a letter that was sent by Senate President Simpson to the Colonel Kelly with the Army Corps of Engineers. And basically, he was asking Colonel Kelly, or telling Colonel Kelly, he wants to withdraw funding and stop the funding of the EA reservoir, which was, everybody remembers SB 10, the Southern Reservoir. That is a problem. We need to demand that the Senate and the legislature keep that project funded and that it moves forward. I would like to see if the commission would like to do one of two things, or both. A is a letter to Senator Simpson, Senate President Simpson, just telling him that that this is a very important project, and quite frankly, that we request a cease and desist, trying to stop it and become part of the solution, not continue to be part of the problem. And then also a resolution that we would approve in support of the continued funding of the reservoir, and send that to not only our delegation, but both the House and Senate leadership and the governor as well. So, and
Are you going to
if I need
propose
to
that
make a
today, or are you going to let staff work on it? Are you trying to propose?
I'll just go ahead and make a motion that we do that the direct staff to come back for the next meeting with a resolution and a letter to go along with it.
Is there a
Second.
Second by Commissioner
Before we
Mast.
go on, did you say that there's a bill pending?
No, it's, I think they're just trying to do it in the budgetary process. So,
Okay.
but, and I didn't have time to reach out to Congressman Mast's office, see if I get a copy of the letter, but we've all heard that the Senate President wants to do this, but he's really stepping it up right now. He wants to divert all funding to only projects north of the lake and eliminate any work done south of the lake and any funding south of the lake. We've all worked too hard on this project to let it stop, for it to be stopped now because of one person.
Madam Mayor, can I ask a question of the commissioner? So I know that both Senate President Simpson and Senator Mayfield have been out there kind of championing this. We did hear from Colonel Kelly, or no, it wasn't Kelly. Who did we have here? I'm sorry.
No, it was Kelly.
Kelly, yes, who did say that he was fully committed to continuing forward. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing for us to go out there. Cease and desist, I mean,
Yeah, it's probably a little strong.
I don't know if that's the right language, but I'm in support of us taking a stand. I think you're right, we do need to protect that. The other thing is that, in speaking with Senator Harrell and Representative Oberdorf, both have indicated that they, I mean, especially Senator Harrell, are steadfastly in support of continued funding of VAA. So I think just reiterating our support would be great.
Great, so if staff can just bring that back for the next meeting, that'd be great. Well, I guess we need to have a vote first, so.
Sorry. Okay.
Madam Mayor, do we need a all in favor for the?
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Will you take the motion, comment on it?
Okay, we're going to make a comment on it now, before we vote on it.
I would suggest, having done this for a lot of years and continue to do it for other organizations, that you don't write a letter, do the resolution. That would be fine. But you have other appropriations you're trying to get through, and the last person you want to piss off is the Senate President. So you may want to rethink writing a letter right now, but do the resolution for sure.
That's what the motion is about, is to have staff look at something and bring to us.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I do. I have two more, and I'm almost done.
Oh,
So,
okay, so we're just going to let it go. We're agreeing to just let staff do what we
that's what,
need.
Yeah, staff will bring back a resolution.
Bring back, we're not, yeah, we're going to look
yeah,
at it
staff is to
before.
bring back a
Thank
resolution.
you.
That's what my motion was, so.
Thank you.
Okay, good, thanks.
Okay, just two more quick comments, and I'm almost done. So, so it's been brought up about the cleanliness of the bridge, where the fishermen are, but I've also had, and there was an article I know that Commissioner Matheson was part of, but also I've had brought to my attention about not only the bridge being not clean, but also the boardwalk. So I've had a couple residents come to me asking us if we would consider looking at and adopt a sidewalk, adopt a boardwalk program, something where a local business or resident could adopt a boardwalk and go out and clean it, just like we do with roads. And so if there's consensus that that's something the commission would like, maybe we just have staff look at that. I don't know if that's,
It's a DOT, what you're talking about, the.
well, we have boardwalks, we have fishing piers, we have a lot of things that that get dirty, and so we've just had a couple residents ask that we look at doing that, and so if that's something that we would be interested in, if staff is fine, if commission is fine of having staff take a look at that.
Is it okay with our board to just have staff take a look at that idea?
I think we should have a venue for residents, and volunteers, to put their name in a hat, so that if there's a location they're willing to adopt and clean up. I think at the end of the day, the onus does fall on different government agencies. We can't expect our volunteers to do it.
We ran into this when a group of people wanted to form an organization to voluntarily maintain Moore Cemetery, and also when an Eagle Scout wanted to clean Moore Cemetery. The Eagle Scout we actually did because it was a one-time thing and we're trying to help them out, but Sam Emerson was the Public Works Director at the time, and he had to pay staff to be present the entire time to supervise. It would have been cheaper just to have staff do it because it was overtime, because it wasn't during regular working hours. It had to be on the weekends for the student. And then as it related to the group that wanted to do it, Sam had looked into it and ran into the same problem that we have to pay staff to be present. If someone gets hurt, they're not blocked by workers' comp because they're a volunteer, so the city is directly liable for their injuries.
Mr. Mortel,
Yes,
how
ma'am.
is that different from a group wanting to sign up with Keep Martin Beautiful and pick that segment for them to clean?
By the way, I'm not sure, and quite frankly, if you're walking down the street and you see a plastic bottle and you pick it up and put it in the garbage can, I don't think anybody would be harmed by that either. But when you start organizing it and putting them on our boardwalks and whatever else it is, and it's just like we do the river cleanup every year we used to. I mean, COVID kind of blocked it this year, and that was totally fine too, and I think people went on private and public property. I just bring it up because I know that Sam addressed that issue with us before.
Madam Mayor, can we just, I think it's worth having staff bring back an official item where we could talk about that.
Can I just say that I already have looked into this because that singular citizen reached out to me as well. And my thing is, I don't want to start advertising on the boardwalk like they do, like on streets, that this boardwalk is maintained by X business or whatever it is. And on the liability side of things, it's not like walking down a street or a sidewalk. You're getting into the boulders and stuff down in the park and stuff, and somebody twisting an ankle or something down
That's
there.
fine. I said I'd bring it up, and if you think, staff thinks that there's some liability concerns, then I'm fine with that as well.
We'll look into it.
So, but finally, the last thing is, I think it was at the last meeting, or maybe maybe the meeting before, I brought up the issue regarding homeless in the park. And since then, I've had a meeting with one of our police officers, Ken Leadham. I don't see him here. He was here earlier. And him and actually our Neighborhood Services, Vito, had brought to me I'll say a broad stroke plan to work with a not-for-profit to create transition housing for the homeless here in Stuart. It would take some investment from the city of Stuart through some use of some land, and maybe and possibly maybe in the future the funds from that from the housing and low-income housing fund, or maybe some CRA funds. So I've been talking to staff a little, I mentioned it to Mr. Dias, and want to work out some things. But I'm going to be working on that and hopefully bringing back a proposal. But I think that here's an opportunity for us to solve. I'm not going to say solve the entire problem, but maybe help a few people and also solve some of the problem of the folks that are in our parks. So. That's all I have.
Mr. Vice Mayor, can I ask a question? Which nonprofit are you working with for that?
To be honest, I don't have that in my note, and
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it, but one of the board members came to our meeting, and she didn't have her card from the actual not-for-profit. She had her card from her private business that she works, and so, and I don't have that with me. So,
Okay.
But I do think that, but that's just one of there's going to end up really with the plans to make it work. There'll be probably multiple not-for-profits involved.
Sure.
Because when you start digging into the issues of the homeless, it's not just needing a place to live. It's dealing with psychiatric issues, substance abuse issues, employment issues. It's a very complex project. For an undertaking any way you go. So, I'm excited to be working with them and hopefully coming up with something that works out as a solution. Though I will tell you, it's going to be a challenge. That's putting it lightly. So, okay, thank you.
There's no easy answer.
No, there is no easy answer.
There's got to be a better solution than for what's done historically is for them to be pushed to a different location.
Well, and with the development that we're having in Stuart with the apartments that have been built, all it is just relocating people right now, and that's not a good solution. So, and sadly, even if this project that was proposed is 100% success, it really only helps 8 to 10, 12 people a year. I mean, it's a challenge.
Well, I commend you for taking the lead, trying to come up with a solution.
Thank you.
Well, I have a few comments. Let's see, first off, regarding the job fair, I think I've spent last week traveling around with Sergeant Bossio trying to lock down some large job providers. I think we are looking at a somewhat fairly firm in the next few days or so, date of April 15th to host the job fair. It's going to be, during the week was the advice of the BDB and Career Sources. We haven't narrowed down a time, but it'll be late afternoon to catch people who can leave work early and into the early afternoon, roughly 4 to 6 or so, 4 to 7. And right now, the priority is to drum up job providers. Sergeant Bossio and I hit some of the larger potential job providers in the city of Stuart. Over the next week or two, that'll be the focus, and marketing to job providers. City of Stuart will put out a Facebook blast. Commissioner McDonald, your ammunition supplier, or someone I'll have Ms. Goodrich reach out to. And again, we're open for any suggestions on job providers to contact myself or Sergeant Bossio. And then as we get closer, we'll be shifting the marketing pressure to job seekers. It will be at the public safety complex. Reason being, we can't use the 10th Street Community Center during the week at those hours, but the advice of the agencies that run job fairs more than I do is to do it sometime during the week. So we acquiesce to their request on that. Regarding the push by our Senate President, I certainly support what staff comes up with. I'd request that our resolution emphasizes that even if we took perfectly crystal clear, as clean as could be, spring water and dumped it into Lake Okeechobee, by the time it flowed south again through the lake, it would be totally polluted. So storing more water north of the lake does not solve the entire problem, and that's what we're trying to look for. I'm all for natural water storage, north and south of the lake, but we've been focusing for too long on trying to get some significant water storage south of the lake to give up now. Last Thursday, I was riding my bike home from City Hall, and I noticed a sign hanging down, almost about to fall into Colorado Avenue by one bolt. I took a quick picture of it on my phone and continued my ride home. I sent that text where the sign was on Colorado to Mr. Milton Leggett. About 5 minutes after I got home, he replied that the sign was fixed.
That's Milton for you.
That's what you call quick reaction.
That's Milton, very good.
So I'd like to
Everybody
thank,
loves Milton.
and remind everyone that my bike is electric, so I don't, I was moving fairly quickly as I'm comfortable doing. I'd also like to commend him, as Commissioner McDonald touched on in his comments about the trash on Old Roosevelt Bridge. And I've been working with Milton as well as our officers to get out ahead of a littering problem that I see, which led Jensen Causeway to close down some public access to fishing. I think that that's being revisited, but I'm never going to support any reduction of any public activities. So I want to thank Mr. Leggett and his team again. They've put out some trash cans on either side of the Roosevelt Bridge, taking a look at all the signage there and are updating it. And, we're doing our best to keep city clean and really police the problem, which is littering, and we all need to be respectful of our city and our environment. I'd like to say on behalf of Commissioner Ken Russell, who recently came up to the city of Stuart from Miami and toured our waters, that the city of Miami did recently, this last Friday, pass 2 resolutions. One added Everglades restoration and maximum flows south from Lake Okeechobee to their state and federal legislative priorities. And the second resolution hired 3 firms to advocate for these priorities in Tallahassee. So on behalf of the city, I'd like to thank Commissioner Russell for coming up and pushing these resolutions forward in the city of Miami. Lake Okeechobee right now is at 15.39 feet. A year ago, we were at 12.92 feet. Sorry, 95 feet. That makes me really nervous for the wet season, and I think it should make all of us. We're in a very troublesome point with these lake levels regarding our estuary and our residents here. While our number one goal for city is to eliminate discharges from Lake Okeechobee, we have to keep in mind that every drop of water not sent south or west for beneficial use during this dry season may be discharged upon us this upcoming wet season. This wastes potential beneficial water and risks significantly harming our residents. Simply put, we need to advocate for more lake water to flow south into the STAs now. We're now well into the dry season, and the vast majority of water that has flown into the STAs has not come from Lake Okeechobee. I'd like to direct our staff to research the intended purposes of the STAs, and specifically, what water have they been designed to treat? I'd also like to motion to have staff work with me on drafting a letter to the district and the corps urging maximum southerly flows of Lake Okeechobee water south into the STAs during this dry season. I'd like this letter to come back, for our next meeting for review.
Are you making a motion on that, Mr.?
And I'll second it.
Yes.
Motion by Vice Mayor, seconded. Mr. Martell and Ms. Kendall, do you know what Mr. is talking about? You got it? City Manager, do you have any questions on his direction?
No, ma'am.
Or his-
No, ma'am.
All right, all in favor?
Do we have any
Aye.
public comment? Aye.
Okay, what was that, Mr. McDonald?
Public comment on the motion.
Okay, any comments on, you'd like to comment, or you
No,
were
no, I just
asking?
wanted to see if
Public
The public.
comment before
Any
vote.
members of the public, we had we did ask for a vote, but we'll take any comments that you have. Okay, on that motion, nothing, so all in favor, we'll get it, dealt with. Okay. Any more comments, Mr.
No, Mayor.
Matheson?
Those are all my comments. Thank you.
Okay, the time has gone on, and everybody has made their comments except me, but I'm gonna try to make a few comments, and we still have comments from the public, and it's after the 5:30 hour. A couple of things, just follow up. The straw ordinance, I wanna thank you, City Manager, for the work that you're doing, and with staff and with our business people and code enforcement and our building department, so we thank everybody who's working on that. Mr. Leggett. Mr. Leggett is I don't know, he's a hero in our community, in our city. Just the things that he does. I appreciate everything that you've done, City Manager, to help us deal with that. One of my visions and our commission have joined together about having safe and clean streets and, of course, safe and clean water. It's not an old thing, and it's not a new thing. It's just something that we absolutely need to keep focused on at all times. And the things when we have staff working on these things, not just Mr. Leggett and his team, but so many others, but just to know that people have this as not just as their work schedule, but as their passion, as their way of trying to find as many ways to do the job as possible. It is so important. So thanks for working on the ideas for the Roosevelt Bridge. And Commissioner McDonald, thank you for your new ideas, and we'll just see how we can work with the community. If it's not something that we can do, maybe there are other community members that can figure out a way, the marine industries, keep Martin beautiful, whatever we need to do. This is how we do things, is collaborate and to try to get things done. So we'll work on that. With regard to that, I must say thank you to CBS 12 for allowing me to be interviewed by them and to talk again about, our vision for 2021, especially with our safe and clean streets and safe and clean water. And so Miss Glass, Ashley Glass, interviewed me, I think, on February the 5th. So thank you so much. Those of you who haven't seen the interview, if you can look at it, I guess it's on somewhere on the TV somewhere. And Mr. Kralski, his department arranged that. So we just want to thank, when we can have something positive about the city of Stuart, that's a good thing. I want to announce that we've had some COVID-19 vaccinations in the community other than at Publix or at the health department. They were at St. Paul AME Church today. I think if City Manager wants to talk about it a little bit in his report, he can talk about that. And I just want to thank the folks, and I know that Representative Senator Gail Harrell has been working also to try to see if she can get those numbers increased and get vaccines closer to people in the community and those who are struggling to get through the system, to get their names on a list and to be able to get vaccinated. So we just appreciate that. On Wednesday, I'll be speaking to the AAUW, and that'll be a good thing to bring up something about the community. I want to pull item number 9 from the consent agenda, just in case the city manager can just tell us the difference in the little bit that's changing with regard to that budget item and the resolution and so on. So that's my comments. Other than pulling item number 9, we have the approval of the agenda as the next.
You forgot comments by the city manager.
Oh, city manager.
That's okay. You want to skip me? I'm good.
Sorry, comments by city manager.
Just as a follow-up from some of the stuff that was discussed at the last commission meeting, I do believe I'm going to have all of the information I need back as it relates to the green market. That was a topic of discussion, and so that will be on the following commission meeting as a D&D, where I'll present the results of the information that I've gathered. As you mentioned, the straws, I submitted some data about the straws to the commission as to our progress with that. And please, a lot of locations are coming into compliance, slowly but surely. The events plastics, I'm still working on how to go about the enforcement wing of that. The issues become around the sporadic nature of events. And so having a full-time person or a person dedicated to that obviously doesn't make sense. And then putting that into someone else's job function is currently what I'm evaluating. So those events usually are at nights and weekends, which are odd hours for working conditions. So I'm having to determine where that is going to best lie. As you know, we submitted to you guys and also to the media about the Army Corps of Engineers dredging project. It's going to be going on out in the river, and I am seeking a quote from the same company to piggyback off that dredging to do some dredging up to our courtesy docks and around our courtesy docks. We got the 2015 evaluation of what those depths were back in 2015, and the preliminary on the depths now is a pretty significant difference in how shallow it is currently versus 2015. Do you have a question?
On the dredging, a few years ago, there was one of the canals, I think actually maybe the canal
South
that
Carolina.
Merritt lives on, the owners, which are responsible for their own dredging, were talking about wanting it dredged. I think the way it had been done in the past was do a special assessment. I don't know if the owners on that street would want to pay a special assessment and get it dredged if we could piggyback on a contract at the same time. But again, I don't have any clue. I just remember speaking with a couple of the owners 4 or 5 years ago regarding that.
I know that some of my neighbors certainly would be interested in that. I wouldn't feel comfortable myself, since I do live on the street, pushing that. But if there's a way that they could do it, I know if it's true that the city has worked with that canal in the past, I believe there would be some interest, and I'd help in any way I could for that.
Mr. Dice, I don't know how I missed it, but what are we dredging?
We're dredging the channel. There's an Army Corps requirement of a certain depth through the channel, and so they've hired a company to, I believe it's from the locks down to about, I don't know, a mile or so to the east of the Roosevelt Bridge.
Is this they're paying for this?
Yes.
Okay,
This is actually underway already.
Yeah.
okay.
It'll be going through to, I believe, July. And then I know the mayor had reached out to some of the local churches, specifically in the East Sturt community, about vaccinations in the East Sturt community. For those who meet the guidelines, the over 65 guidelines, and I know AME Church had one today, and I know that there's they're trying now to do a follow-up one at the location where the NAACP offices and possibly some other churches over there within that community. And that is all I have.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, pulling item 9 for review.
Second.
Okay, so motion and second, all for pulling item number 9 and to accept the agenda as published. Any questions from us?
Public
Okay,
comment?
all in favor, a public comment on the motion to accept the agenda?
May I ask?
To accept the agenda, just to approve the agenda. Question?
Motion by Matheson, second by
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Mayor.
All right, thank you. No comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, comment from the public, please. I have 3 comment cards from the public on general items, none on any specific item. And we'll get to the specific items soon, starting with the first pulled item. Well, we have not done the consent yet, but we'll figure that out soon. Helen McBride?
Helen McBride from Flamingo Avenue. I'm just going to take a few minutes. Commissioner McDonald was talking about speeders, and I want to follow up and say he's right. I mean, on East Ocean Boulevard, it's ridiculous, and they don't even stop for the red light. The second thing is I represent you on the MOP Citizen Advisory Board, and the 2 meetings I've already attended, we talk about bicycles. And at the last meeting, I brought up, because people have, we neighbors talk, I didn't know this, but I was educated at the meeting. There is state laws regarding bicycles. And people can tell me anything, but I try to follow through. But I didn't want to follow through on this one the way I did. I was driving on Florida, right there by Wawa's, and the gentleman, I think 20 or 30, it was dark, maybe around 6:30, it wasn't that dark. The bike had no lights, nothing on it. He was dressed all in dark clothes, and I almost hit the guy. But he was riding against me, and I thought, oh my God, people are right. But there are. Now, and I know all of you probably know the woman that, she's on the CRA, she represents Port Salerno. She said, she said, oh, I can help you on that. She said, we have that problem down there in their neighborhood, but the sheriff's department, because of the state law, is enforcing. They give tickets out if they're not. Your bike is, your car insurance covers your bicycle. And we have to, like my car, I have to keep everything regulated, so do you. I want the speeders stopped and I want the bicycles, but I do know, because I'm educated in the police department, we don't have enough, in my opinion, we don't have enough police officers. But I also know the budget, and you just can't say, all right, city manager, hire 10 new officers, because it's not in the budget. But I want to, and I'll probably be bringing up a number of times, for the next budget, let's keep it right up there on top. I don't even really know how many police officers we have on active duty. But we got to start, because then the other thing is, all of these apartments, and they're starting, I know, down there by Walmart, that they're already, the buildings are being built. So we're going to have a lot more people, a lot more cars, and the bicycles. So we've got to start thinking now about the budget for our safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City manager, just as a thing, I'm thinking that maybe possibly, if we can look into ways to maybe educate our biking public and do some other public service things to maybe let people do more. So there's some things that we can think of other than, I think, enforcements if we're looking at. Thank you. Our next public speaker is Karen Ripper.
Good evening.
Yes, Karen.
I'm Karen Ripper. I'm the president and CEO of the Council on Aging of Martin County at the Kane Center. And as all of you know, vaccines are like getting a vaccine is like winning a little bit of the lottery. It's been really difficult for our community members over the age of 80. Currently in Martin County, 9% of our residents are over the age of 80, 14,274. And then of those, 85 plus, 7,746. And I think I've sent you all, I know I've sent you all an email about that issue, not being able to navigate where to get the vaccine, how to get in the public's website, and all those other issues. And I'm glad to hear that you've taken some initiative about working with the churches and getting the vaccines closer to the community. We gave our number out for our navigator at the county commission meeting. We've had over 400 phone calls. We did obtain, we are a Florida Shots provider through our day medical center, which is a rather large primary care center. And we vaccinated 302 people on Saturday through a drive-through clinic. However, we don't have the manpower to return all these phone calls right away. So I'm asking the public who are calling to please leave their name and number, and we will contact them. We're trying to get people into different avenues. We know of some physicians' offices up in Port St. Lucie and some other places that sometimes have vaccine left over in areas of the county that if we can get on the phone and get someone there, we'll give them the vaccine. But we're not ignoring phone calls. It's just impossible with the manpower. But the number to call and leave your name and number, we will get back with you within a reasonable amount of time. The number is 223-7845, and we're trying to make it our mission to help those over 80 plus right now to be able to get the vaccine. So with that, I'll ask for questions. But in the meantime, we need to stress to people that you have to use the safety precautions, because until you get to 70% immunity in the population, it's going to be difficult still with COVID. And that means people being inoculated as well. So, any questions for me?
Karen, can I ask you, do you hand out masks when you give out your lunches?
We have given masks when we get our lunches. The volunteers wear masks and leave the lunch in a designated place outside the residence. Yes.
Could you repeat the number?
223-7845. And that's our navigator for the Council on Aging. Her name is Jean Kenny, and she's keeping a log, and we're calling people as we can. So,
Madam Mayor, quick
Thank you.
question. I know we don't ask questions in public comment, but I believe the CEO of the Council on Aging can answer this. So just to clarify, your focus is on helping those that are at the current time over 80.
correct.
And if they call that number you gave out, you'll assist them in trying to line them up with a vaccine appointment?
That is correct. Our IT guy comes in at 5:45 every morning. He gets on the public's website. You can get 4 names in there. So far, he has not been lucky, and he's done it several times. It's impossible. Really, it's like, again, winning the lotto. So I think we're going to see a lot more vaccine availability here in the next couple of weeks. So people just have to be patient, and we will get through to help as many as we can.
I'm sure your IT guy is a little more tech savvy than some of our residents that are of that age bracket. So I thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate all the help.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you
You're
for coming
welcome.
on to us. If there's anything that you have that you can give our website people to put on our
Okay.
website to link with you, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. We're going to also be going to the underserved areas as well and trying to get the message out about the vaccines, because there's a lot of hesitancy everywhere, but especially in minority populations, as you've heard on the news. So it's been tough. Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
want
Ms.
to thank
Rupert.
you, Karen, for everything you've
Oh,
done.
you're welcome.
I think of you as the Martin County nurse, so just the great nurse. Thank you.
An older one.
I think you're the best.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Karen Hall Yost.
Karen Hall, Yost Rudge, 1701 Southwest Palm City Road. We're 3 minutes, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, on the paper it says 5, but I think we changed that. Okay. Number 1, before the interlocal October meeting concerning development, Mr. Freeman, I feel like it'd be nice for residents if you could put on the website, not just the current, the proposed, I'm going to use baseball, but what's in the dugout, what's on deck, and what's right now at bat. I think that'd be fair to residents if we could go on the website and just see what's proposed, what's current, and what's whatever future. I'm going to also talk about safety like Helen McBride did. Coming in here on Canner into our little downtown at 40, we can do something about it. We just have to make enough noise. We have Nancy's, it's a nice little pizza place. We have the Notes, this is part of our downtown. You cannot have people coming through here at 40, and we're gonna try to have people walking with their families. It takes one person, and then it ruins everything. So let's try to see what we can do about slowing, just as you're coming in where Canner turns into Colorado, for safety purposes, so nobody gets hit. And we want this small town thing. We want to be able to walk around, ride our bikes, ride a scooter, you know, exercise. Number two, the budget, I've looked at it, it's nice. I just want to remind us, just because we gave $100,000 to a baseball field in East Stuart doesn't mean that's where it stops. I think there needs to be less disparity in our budget where things go to downtown and even Main Street, which I love. My children went to all those things. $70,000 they asked for. At this time of COVID, I wish that they would have said, okay, we'll take 20, because not having the parade and putting up those trees, that didn't cost that much, and only one tree had a veteran thing on it. So if we're paying and use a Memorial Park for a little Christmas tree thing, we better put something for each veteran on there. It's Memorial Park, for God's sake. So I think 70 was too much to take. Maybe they want to give some back. I don't know. The CRA and the CRB, the board, it's just full of like real estate, developer, stuff like that. I don't know how it works. Do we get a mom on there? Do we get somebody who owns a fishing? Is it advertised? I don't know. We need to have more of a balance on our CRA. Can't have it just full of developers and real estate people. I think that's all I had. The 40 miles, yes. So yes, I think as we move ahead to be very unifying, our money needs to be put out everywhere, just not downtown. Thank you for your service. Oh, I forgot to say that. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rudge. And as a follow-up, Ms. Kendall, yes, Ms. Rudge was correct. On these green forms, it still says 5 minutes, even though our agenda says 3 minutes, so maybe we need to update the green form. Or maybe we probably were just using old copies to save energy, but, okay. Thank you so much. We have the consent agenda, pull-in item number 9.
Madam Mayor, I beg your pardon, do you mind if I just do one quick note after Ms. Ripper had talked about coronavirus and vaccine?
Yes, sir.
So Martin County, so I'm the chair of the Council of Local Governments. We had our first meeting this last week, and we had the whole discussion for an hour and a half was about COVID vaccination and how crazy and screwed up it is. And across all of the counties in our Treasure Coast Council, everybody was disappointed with the lack of communication and confusion coming out of the state. So I just wanted to help clarify, Martin County has a very good kind of succinct summary of resources and vaccine on their website. Again, this is something where we kind of have to deflect. The city of Stuart, we are not coordinating vaccines. We can help with support, but anybody with any questions, I'm glad Ms. Ripper mentioned that number for seniors 80 plus. That number that she said, 223-7845. People who are 65 and over and don't meet that threshold can still call or go to the martin.fl.us/coronavirus, and there is a state-organized Department of Health vaccination registration wait list form that you can get right there, and you can call a number which is 866-201-7037. I know it's very complicated. I'm sorry. I wish there was more that we could do. But all of the information from your local government, the county, people should go to martin.fl.us/coronavirus. That gives you all of the real, clear, concise information, and will point you in the right direction. So, thanks.
Thank you so much. The consent agenda, pull-in item number 9.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been approved and seconded. Any comments? Moved and seconded. Any comments from the public on the consent agenda? We have some items which are roll call. Do we need to do a roll call, or if we have
Consent is roll
all
call.
in favor?
It's a roll call.
Roll call.
Public comment?
I did ask for public comment.
Okay. Vice Mayor Matheson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Thank you.
We pulled item number 9 on the consent agenda. If city manager would just give us a brief
This is resolution number 16-2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, supporting innovative pilot projects on Lake Okeechobee to mechanically remove invasive aquatic vegetation to better understand effective methods to reduce nutrient pollution in the future.
So this resolution is supporting the technology that you saw earlier in the presentation section of the meeting, and it does not indicate any specific company. However, it does support the mechanical removal or harvesting of aquatic vegetation.
Thank you. Any comments from our board members?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments from the public? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Okay. We're at our commission action items, and we have an ordinance for first reading. There's no ordinance for second reading. This is item number 12, the Hidden Key RPUD rezoning, and this is a quasi-judicial event, so just let me get my paper, and staff is in place. And I think we have people here who are representing
The attorney will
on
read
this. So could we have the attorney to read this item, please, and the ordinance number 2457, 2021?
This is ordinance number 2457-2021, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, rezoning the 1.3 acre parcel from residential multifamily/office R3 to residential planned unit development, which is our PUD, located north of the ARC of Martin County and south of the estates of Stuart, east of Canner Highway, said land being more fully described in Exhibit A attached, establishing the Hidden Key RPUD consisting of 28 multifamily units within two-story apartment buildings, approving a development site plan, providing for development conditions and a timetable for development, declaring the plan to be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, providing for directions to the city clerk, providing for appeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date for other purposes.
Thank you. Commissioners, do any of you have any ex parte communications to disclose?
I have spoken with staff, and I am here with an open mind.
Ms. Bruner?
I've spoken with no one, and I'm here with an open mind.
Mr. McDonald?
I've spoken with staff, and I've spoken with Mr. Rick Creech, and I'm here with an open mind.
Vice Mayor?
I've spoken with staff and I've spoken with the applicant, and I always have an open mind.
Myself, I've just reviewed the matter with city manager, and I've spoken with Mr. Creech briefly, and I'm here with an open mind. All those giving testimony, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. City Attorney?
Let the record reflect that there are 5 people being sworn. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. I assume they all said yes, but they're wearing masks.
Thank you. Staff, Development Director, please present your testimony, including any evidence and your recommendations regarding this matter.
Thank you, Mayor. Steve Mayer for the record. Development Department, City of Stuart.
Mr. Mayor, get a little bit closer to the microphone,
Okay.
please.
Thank you. The ordinance before you is a rezoning and site plan approval for Hidden Key RPUD. The applicant is Jeremy Lemaster. The location of the property is inside of Canner Highway, just north of the ARC of Martin County, south of the Estates of Stuart, would be east of Canner Trust, which is on Canner Highway, the Canner Trust offices, and west of Unity Church, which is actually on Central. Now, this is 1.36 acres in size. It's currently vacant, doesn't have an address at this time. The future land use of the property is office residential, as is most of the surrounding, except for where the location of the church is B2. Commercial. The zoning district is R3. This is the rezoning to change that to RPUD. Most of the surrounding property is also likewise R3, with the exception of some CPUD on this side. The site aerial, if you could see that zoomed in, the vacant nature of the property, how close they are to surrounding uses, and where the access road is. in location, in the neighborhood of the location. The waivers that are requested, the applicant is required to request a plan unit development with a site plan for 28 apartments because of the following deviations of the LDR, or land development regulations. Number one, under section 2.07000 density, the applicant is requesting 28 units or 20.6 units per acre. Under the provisions of the LDR, the proposal is within the maximum permitted gross density as prescribed in policy 1A72 of the city's comprehensive plan, which relates to gross densities, which for an RPUD in an office residential future land use location outside the CRA is not greater than 30 units per acre. The density entitled to by the existing zoning, R3, is up to 11.62 acres, units per acre, or 15 units. So therefore, the request would be to increase the count by 13 units on this site. The second waiver request and reason for the PUD is for a waiver to section 6.04.06, which is the land use transitions and landscape buffers. The buffer with requirement for a 2-story multifamily use adjacent to other multifamily use to the north is 30 feet along the rear side. The applicant is requesting a consistent 15-foot wide landscape buffer along the northern, eastern, western sides with a proposed multifamily uses abutting on the existing family, which is the estates of Stuart. This is to include a 6-foot high perimeter wall, and also the applicant will address the doubling up of landscaping that is there in that buffer. It's
Thank you.
Yep.
Can you make sure, because we have people on Zoom and everything, make sure that you're as close to the mic and speaking as loud as possible, please?
Okay, thank you. The this item went to the LPA in December. The LPA recommendation and changes were noted in the staff report. Based on those LPA recommendations, the applicant removed a bioswale from the rear of the property in order to provide denser landscaping along that buffer strip. In addition, in accordance with the LPA recommendation with regard to pedestrian safety, a sidewalk has been located on the north side of the entrance versus going across to the south side of that entrance road. Minor corrections of typos on elevations and labeling of the 6-foot high perimeter wall, the bike rack locations, mailbox location, and future electric vehicle charging stations are also updated on the site plan and landscaping plans. The site plan is in your packet. It looks like that, and there's a little bit zoomed in. You can see where the buffer requirement would be for the units. This is the location of the apartment units here. There are still some bioswales on the east and west sides of the property. The location of the bike rack, the dumpster, the EV parking spaces are all located in this area, and you can see them now labeled. The landscape plan is also in your packet. You can see that here, and the applicant should also speak to that. And the elevations are, again, in your packet. They do meet the requirements of our section for architecture. So staff recommends approval of ordinance 2457, 2020 on first reading, 2021, sorry, and moving to second reading on February 22nd.
Thank you so much, Mr. Meyer.
Thank you.
Development Director Freeman, do you have anything to add to the staff's presentation and recommendation?
No, thank you, Mayor. Not at this time.
Thank you. Does the petitioner have any testimony to give or to call any witnesses? I recognize Mr. Creech.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, other board members, happy to be here today presenting on behalf of Jerry Lemaster. Also with us is Ms. Eileen Junta, our landscape architect, and Susan O'Rourke, our traffic consultant. And we concur with staff's recommendation. As he mentioned, we speak to the landscaping. As part of the LPA meeting, we were asked to increase the landscaping along that buffer. We have done that as such. We've also added a 6-foot sidewalk along the north side of the roadway so that the pedestrians, the students, can get out to Cantor Highway State Road 76 so they can be picked up by the bus. That was a safety concern that came out of LPA. And we also addressed some of the smaller items that they had out there. So the site plan, I believe, complies with it. So we appreciate your approval tonight and look forward to any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Creech. Mr. Creech, would you like any of your folks to present, or would you wait until we have any questions for them?
We'll just wait, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Any of our commissioners have any questions for staff or for the petitioner?
I do for Stephen. I didn't know that was you. Do you have a play coming up?
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I do have a play coming up on February
Elvis.
20th. We're going to be doing Midsummer Night's Dream right here in Stuart at the
love it.
gazebo in front of the courtse, and it's going to be awesome.
It's part of Arts Fest.
That's all I have.
Thank you so much.
I did forget to mention Arts Fest. Thank you. Mr. McDonald?
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
The only thing and I mentioned this the other day, the road coming in to the, coming past, I guess it's the corrections facility in Arc, and from looking at the plan, it looks like it's curved on the side of the project. What about the other side?
The other side right now is just an open swale and not curbed.
Yeah, is that, I mean, I'm just worried about how that road's gonna look, and
I'd be more than happy to curb it. It's, well within our access easement to be able to do that, so.
yeah, does that create a problem with your drainage or anything?
I'll address that during the site civil design plans, but I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I just think that would look a little better and maybe even be a little bit safer, so.
Absolutely.
If you're okay with
Yep.
that,
Nope,
so.
we'll concede to put a 6-foot raised curb there.
6
Thank-
foot?
Or 6 inch, I'm sorry. 6 foot.
Say that.
I'm all in the 6-foot wall mentality right now, so it's like, yeah, 6-inch curb, raised
I
curb.
mean, I've never seen a 6-foot curb, but hey.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it'd be a heck of a curb.
Thank you. Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a great use of, this is infill. This is what we need more of in the city. So I commend you for taking an otherwise challenging piece of property and doing something good with it, housing that we need. I've been thinking about the access road, the street coming off of Canner. It is a little narrow, but when I looked through Ms. O'Rourke's traffic statement, I mean, we're not talking about a huge amount of units here with a lot of trip generation based on this report. So, I think it could potentially get a little bit clogged in there. As someone who lives off of Canner right across the street, I know sometimes it can be difficult getting off of and on to Canner, especially during peak travel times. But, I think it's the right size project for the space, and I have no real concerns at this point, questions. So, thank you very much.
Vice Mayor?
Commissioner Meyer, I agree. That was my one hesitation, was the road, the ingress and egress seemed to be slightly narrow, but, I've had some talks with our public safety folks, if they can get a truck in there, I'm certainly okay with it. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Do we have any people on, I'm going to go to Zoom first for members of the public. No public comments from Zoom? Any public comments from those in the audience? I see Ms. McBride coming to the podium.
Helen McBride, Flamingo Avenue. I'm concerned, of course, it's in black and white. I'm concerned about green. I wanted, there's nothing up there to show me where the green is or how many trees. And I know you're all, I've been talked to about all of a sudden all the trees in Stuart are disappearing and landscaping. And I remember this one, Smithfield, they had a beautiful landscape. Now you go over there, it was all ripped out. East Ocean, the one on Publix there on US 1 and that, they just, when I first moved here, it was beautiful green. I realize landscaping, because I have a yard, it's too big now that I'm old. You got the weeds and the trees. But I know the wall, but I'm not seeing that from Kenner Highway. And I'm not against this development, because, I'm for growth. But I don't really know the rules and regulations of the green when you're developing in Stuart. But we're getting concerned, the old timers and the new people, the young people coming in really are for the green. Let's make sure we got, and it has to stay there. Now, Walgreens did put up the trees they took down. So, but let's think about the green that's going to be there in 20 years and 30 years. I've been here 48 years, so I want to still see the green. That's all. I'm not against the development, but this is the opportunity I can bring this up. Thank you.
Mayor,
What is that, Commissioner?
I wanted to ask one more thing. What Commissioner McDonald, could you amplify it? What does he mean by the curve? What are you talking about? What you want to? Yeah, sure. I'm not as good as builder as you guys are. I would like to see it. So I understand it.
The street curve,
Oh,
just
okay.
continuing.
It's very much like, Madam Commissioner, it's like in downtown, you've got the curb that sits inside by the parking lot, sits down east of Osceola, so it'll be a very similar curb to that, a raised curb that would be sitting down the edge of pavement.
Okay.
So-
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was going to ask staff, we have a competent landscape architect here. Do we need to bring up anything that staff would help us have some comfort on the trees for the future, or do we need the landscape architect to present her plans fully?
If the landscape architect would please come forward to highlight the extra landscaping that they're providing above and beyond code, sure. That could help.
Thank you. If you just state your name for the record and give your business.
Eileen Junta with Eileen G Designs. That's actually not the most current site plan.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
on here. And there's actually some digital renderings on there as well.
Next time, Mr. Creech, you need to bring tall trees into the city chambers.
I'll make sure I can bring them in with a dolly. So
Okay. Can see it.
Good to see you, Eileen.
See you. So you can see from the site plan, this one's better labeled.
State your name.
Oh, Eileen Junta, did I not say
She
that?
did on the way
Yes.
to hand the thumb drive.
You can see all along, there's cypress trees on the sides. Those are the bigger ones. And then on the back, there's oaks. We've got hedging along the wall. There's pines in there, sable palms, and then shade trees. So there will be canopy trees all the way around
Oh,
the
nice.
property. So, yeah, so there'll be lots of green, right? And then, and there's hedging along the wall. And on the sides, it just kind of tears down, and then you can see there's sod around the front. And then along the frontage, the same thing, there's some flowering trees as well as shade trees.
Thank you. Mr. Creech, for Ms. Bruner's benefit, can you just point out the sidewalk? Oops, okay, we went further with the trees. That's okay.
That's the sidewalk, Madam Mayor, coming out, and right there, running along with pavement. And that's striped right there. It's just intended to be a graphic, but I don't really have a real graphic. But if you can look at the curbing inside the parking facility,
Yes.
and that's what it'll look like.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Is everybody satisfied with Ms. Junta's presentation? Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Any other questions for the staff or for the petitioner? If hearing none, I will close this hearing. The resolution has been has been stated by our city attorney on resolution number 2457-2021.
It's actually an ordinance.
Sorry, ordinance. Yes, the ordinance has been stated by our city attorney. No other comments? And we have a motion and we have a second. Does the city clerk have the proper information with regard to the motion and the second?
Yes, I do.
Okay. At this time, I'll leave it up to the city clerk.
Commissioner Bruner?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matheson?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Creech. Thank you, staff.
Have a great evening. Be safe.
Thank you. Any other comments or anything by us? Adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.